1. Vocabulary and success. Now you know where you stand. If you are in the below average or average group, you must consider seriously whether an inadequate vocabulary may be holding you back. If you test it out on the above average, excellent, or superior level, you have doubtless already discovered the unique and far-reaching value of a rich vocabulary, and you are eager to add still further to your knowledge of words. Let us examine briefly some of the evidence that points to the close relationship between vocabulary and personal, professional, and intellectual growth. The Human Engineering Laboratory found that the only common characteristic of successful people in this country is an unusual grasp of the meanings of words. The laboratory tested the vocabularies of thousands of people in all age groups and in all walks of life, and discovered that those people drawing down the highest salaries made the highest scores. Consider very thoughtfully the explanation that the director of the laboratory offered for the relationship between vocabulary and success. Why do large vocabularies characterize executives and possibly outstanding men and women in other fields? The final answer seems to be that words are the instruments by means of which men and women grasp the thoughts of others, and with which they do much of their own thinking. They are the tools of thought. There is other evidence. At many universities, groups of freshmen were put into experimental classes for the sole purpose of increasing their knowledge of English words. These groups did better in their sophomore, junior, and senior years than control groups of similarly endowed students who did not receive such training. And still more evidence, at the University of Illinois, entering students were given a simple 29-word vocabulary test. The results of this test could be used, according to Professor William D. Templeman, to make an accurate prediction of future academic success, or lack of success, over the entire 4-year college course. If a student has a superior vocabulary, states Professor Templeman, it will probably follow that he will do better work academically. And finally, educational research has discovered that your IQ is intimately related to your vocabulary. Take a standard vocabulary test and then an intelligence test. The results in both will be substantially the same. 2. You can increase your vocabulary. The more extensive your vocabulary, the better your chances for success. Other things being equal, success in attaining your educational goals, success in moving ahead in your business or professional career, success in achieving your intellectual potential. And you can increase your vocabulary faster and easier than you may realize. You can, in fact, accomplish a tremendous gain in less than 2 to 3 months of concentrated effort, even if you do only 1 session a day, in less time if you do 2 or more sessions a day. Furthermore, you can start improving your vocabulary immediately, and within a few days, you can be cruising along at such a rapid rate that there will be an actual change in your thinking, in your ability to express your thoughts, and in your powers of understanding. Does this sound as if I am promising you the whole world in a neat package with a pretty pink ribbon tied around it? I am. And I am willing to make such an unqualified promise because I have seen what happens to those of my students at New York University and at Rio Hondo College in Whittier, California, who make sincere, methodical efforts to learn more, many more, words. 3. How to start building your vocabulary. When you have finished working with this book, you will no longer be the same person. You can't be. If you honestly read every page, if you do every exercise, if you take every test, if you follow every principle, you will go through an intellectual experience that will affect a radical change in you. For if you systematically increase your vocabulary, you will also sharpen and enrich your thinking. Push back your intellectual horizons. Build your self-assurance. Improve your facility in handling the English language, and thereby your ability to express your thoughts effectively, and acquire a deeper understanding of the world in general and of yourself in particular. Increasing your vocabulary does not mean merely learning the definitions of large numbers of obscure words. It does not mean memorizing scores of unrelated terms. What it means, what it can only mean, is becoming acquainted with the multitudinous and fascinating phenomena of human existence for which words are, obviously, only the verbal descriptions. Increasing your vocabulary, properly, intelligently, and systematically, means treating yourself to an all-round liberal education, and surely you cannot deny that such an experience will change you intellectually. Will have a discernible effect on your methods of thinking, on your store of information, on your ability to express your ideas, on your understanding of human problems. 4. How children increase their vocabularies. The typical 10-year-old, you will recall, has a recognition vocabulary of over 20,000 words and has been learning many hundreds of new words every year since the age of 4. You were once that typical child. You were once an accomplished virtuoso at vocabulary building. What was your secret? Did you spend hours every day poring over a dictionary? Did you lull yourself to sleep at night with Webster's Unabridged? Did you keep notebooks full of all the new words you ever heard or read? Did you immediately look up the meaning of any new word that your parents or older members of your family used? Such procedures would have struck you as absurd then, as absurd as they would be for you today. You had a much better, much more effective, and considerably less self-conscious method. Your method was the essence of simplicity. Day in and day out, you kept learning. You kept squeezing every possible ounce of learning out of every waking moment. You were an eternal question box, for you had a constant and insatiable desire to know and understand. 5. How adults stop building their vocabularies. Then eventually, at some point in your adult life, unless you are the rare exception, you gradually lost your compulsive drive to discover, to figure out, to understand, to know. Eventually, therefore, you gradually lost your need to increase your vocabulary, your need to learn the words that could verbalize your new discoveries, your new understanding, your new knowledge. Roland Gillat, in a review of Caroline Pratt's book I Learn from Children, describes this phenomenon as follows. All normal human beings are born with a powerful urge to learn. Almost all of them lose this urge, even before they have reached maturity. It is only the few who are so constituted that lack of learning becomes a nuisance. This is perhaps the most insidious of human tragedies. Children are wonders at increasing their vocabularies because of their powerful urge to learn. They do not learn solely by means of words, but as their knowledge increases, so does their vocabulary, for words are the symbols of ideas and understanding. If you are a parent, you perhaps remember that crucial and trying period in which your child constantly asked why. The why is the child's method of finding out. How many adults that you know go about asking and thinking why? How often do you yourself do it? The adults who lose this urge, who no longer feel that lack of learning becomes a nuisance, stop building their vocabularies. They stop learning. They stop growing intellectually. They stop changing. When and if such a time comes, then, as Mr. Gillat so truly says, this is perhaps the most insidious of human tragedies. But fortunately, the process is far from irreversible. If you have lost the powerful urge to learn, you can regain it. You can regain your need to discover, to figure out, to understand, to know. And thus you can start increasing your vocabulary at the same rate as when you were a child. I am not spouting airy theory. For over 35 years I have worked with thousands of adults in my college courses in vocabulary improvement, and I can state as a fact, and without qualification, that if you can recapture the powerful urge to learn with which you were born, you can go on increasing your vocabulary at a prodigious rate. No matter what your present age. 6. Why age makes little difference in vocabulary building. I repeat, no matter what your present age. You may be laboring under a delusion common to many older people. You may think that after you pass your 20s, you rapidly and inevitably lose your ability to learn. That is simply not true. There is no doubt that the years up to 18 or 20 are the best period for learning. Your own experience no doubt bears that out. And of course, for most people, more learning goes on faster up to the age of 18 or 20 than ever after, even if they live to be older than Methuselah. That is why vocabulary increases so rapidly for the first 20 years of life, and comparatively at a snail's pace thereafter. But, and follow me closely, the fact that most learning is accomplished before the age of 20 does not mean that very little learning can be achieved beyond that age. What is done by most people and what can be done under proper guidance and motivation are two very, very different things, as scientific experiments have conclusively shown. Furthermore, the fact that your learning ability may be best up to age 20 does not mean that it is absolutely useless as soon as your 20th birthday is passed. Quite the contrary. Edward Thorndike, the famous educational psychologist, found in experiments with people of all ages that although the learning curve rises spectacularly up to 20, it remains steady for at least another 5 years. After that, ability to learn, according to Professor Thorndike, drops very, very slowly up to the age of 35 and drops a bit more, but still slowly beyond that age. And dash. Right up to senility, the total decrease in learning ability after age 20 is never more than 15%. That does not sound, I submit, as if no one can ever learn anything new after the age of 20. Believe me, the old saw that claims you cannot teach an old dog new tricks is a baseless, if popular, superstition. So I repeat, no matter what your age, you can go on learning efficiently or start learning once again if perhaps you have stopped. You can be 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or older. No matter what your age, you can once again increase your vocabulary at a prodigious rate, providing you recapture the powerful urge to learn that is the key to vocabulary improvement. Not the urge to learn words. Words are only symbols of ideas. But the urge to learn facts, theories, concepts, information, knowledge, understanding, call it what you will. Words are the symbols of knowledge, the keys to accurate thinking. Is it any wonder, then, that the most successful and intelligent people in this country have the biggest vocabularies? It was not their large vocabularies that made these people successful and intelligent, but their knowledge. Knowledge, however, is gained largely through words. In the process of increasing their knowledge, these successful people increase their vocabularies, just as children increase their vocabulary at a tremendous, phenomenal rate during those years when their knowledge is increasing most rapidly. Knowledge is chiefly in the form of words, and from now on, in this book, you will be thinking about and thinking with new words and new ideas. 7. What this book can do for you. This book is designed to get you started building your vocabulary effectively and at jet-propelled speed by helping you regain the intellectual atmosphere, the keen, insatiable curiosity, the powerful urge to learn of your childhood. The organization of the book is based on two simple principles. 1. Words are the verbal symbols of ideas. And 2. The more ideas you are familiar with, the more words you know. So, chapter by chapter, we will start with some central idea, personality types, doctors, science, unusual occupations, liars, actions, speech habits, insults, compliments, etc., and examine 10 basic words that express various aspects of the idea. Then, using each word as a springboard, we will explore any others which are related to it in meaning or derivation, so that it is not unlikely that a single chapter may discuss, teach, and test close to 100 important words. Always, however, the approach will be from the idea. First, there will be a teaser preview in which the ideas are briefly hinted at, then a headline in which each idea is examined somewhat more closely. Next, a clear, detailed paragraph or more will analyze the idea in all its ramifications. Finally, the word itself, which you will meet only after you are completely familiar with the idea. In the etymology, derivation of words section, You will learn what Greek or Latin root gives the word its unique meaning and what other words contain the same or related roots. You will thus be continually working in related fields, and there will never be any possibility of confusion from too muchness, despite the great number of words taken up and tested in each chapter. Successful people have superior vocabularies. People who are intellectually alive and successful in the professional or business worlds are accustomed to dealing with ideas, are constantly on the search for new ideas, build their lives and their careers on the ideas they have learned. And it is to readers whose goal is successful living, in the broadest meaning of the word successful, that this book is addressed. 8. A note on time schedules. From my experience over many years in teaching, I have become a firm believer in setting a goal for all learning and a schedule for reaching that goal. You will discover that each chapter is divided into approximately equal sessions, and that each session will take from 30 to 45 minutes of your time, depending on how rapidly or slowly you enjoy working, and bear in mind that everyone has an optimum rate of learning. For best results, do 1 or 2 sessions at a time, spaced studying, with time between sessions so that you can assimilate what you have learned, is far more efficient, far more productive than gobbling up great amounts in indigestible chunks. Come back to the book every day, or as close to every day as the circumstances of your life permit. Find a schedule that is comfortable for you, and then stick to it. Avoid interrupting your work until you have completed a full session, and always decide, before you stop, exactly when you will plan to pick up the book again. Working at your own comfortable rate, you will likely finish the material in 2 to 3 months, give or take a few weeks, either way. However long you take, you will end with a solid feeling of accomplishment, a new understanding of how English words work and, most important, how to make words work for you.